What is going on, YouTube? Welcome to TJ Mitchell Films, your one-stop shop for everything Jeep and off-road related content. And today we are going to be installing Synergy Manufacturing's heavy-duty chromoly tie rod. Now, the reason that you might want to install a heavy-duty tie rod like this is because this is like the lowest point of your steering, and this is what's going to be banging up against rocks. And you want this thing to not bend, so that way you can get through the trail and drive home. So first off, I just want to say that the packaging is really well done. I really like how they package their product. And holy smokes, I'm not gonna lie, guys. This thing is beefy. It's really heavy, and this is definitely gonna be way better than the factory tie rod. So what we're doing here is we're just hooking up the steering wheel and we're sucking it down to the bar that you would normally use to slide the seat forward and back. And we're doing that just to hold the steering straight because there is no steering wheel lock on the JLs or the JTs. And you don't need to make this super tight, just enough to keep to hold this perfectly down, so that way hopefully we don't have to fine tune this after we install the tie rod. To make things easier, we're gonna pull the wheels and tires off just so we can get in there, have good access to everything, and that's gonna help us later when we go to do the tow in. So this is the factory tie rod right here, and this is what we're gonna be replacing. And obviously it goes this way with the bends, and this is the Synergy one that's gonna go up and replace that. But first, what we're gonna do first, just to get this part out of the way, is in order to do the toe in, instead of measuring everything off the wheels and tires, we're just gonna take a piece of angle iron, drill a couple holes so we can bolt it on here, so that way we have a good measuring point to make sure our toe in is set exactly where we want it. So we got our pieces of angle iron cut, we got our holes marked, we're gonna drill those out so we can bolt those on with the lug nuts. And it might take a little bit of extra time to make these, but then we're gonna keep these, and this is something we'll have anytime we need to do our own alignment. All right, so first up, we're gonna remove the factory steering stabilizer. We're gonna wanna be using that later. Okay. So these can be a little pesky to get off because they spin. So you have to hold the top of them with a 10mm wrench. All right, there we have it. Put the factory tie rod off. Wow, the Synergy one weighs like probably twice as much as this one. So that's gonna be a big upgrade. The last thing that we're gonna need to remove is this factory bracket that holds the steering stabilizer, because we're ditching that with the Synergy setup. And that's just these 3 bolts. Oh my gosh, they're tight. Good thing about this Synergy kit that we're going to be using is, as you can see, this is bracket that holds the steering stabilizer. Scraped it a couple times, but the Synergy kit is going to relocate that stabilizer well up out of the way of any rocks. We measured the tie rods, got our measurement, and then we got these about as close as we could get, and we'll do the final adjustment when the tie rod is on the truck. It's also important to note that Synergy doesn't want this measurement from the end of this to the center to not exceed 3.5 inches on your adjuster or on your other side. So just important, that might be a safety issue there. Now that we got everything on though, we're going to check our toe in, and essentially what that means is we want the tires to be pointed in towards the front, 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch. That way the truck's gonna ride properly. So we're gonna do that, and that is why we built these handy little pieces earlier. Instead of going off of the tires, this should just make it easier. We can just pull all of our measurements off of this nice straight piece of angle iron. Hold it again, sir. There we go. So we just need to adjust this in to get the toe in properly, just ever so slightly. Right now the front and back are even, and Synergy wants this cutout part to be even right here. So what we're gonna do to bring this in is we have to go all the way to right here, right there. So now we'll pull another measurement and see if we're where we want to be. 67 7/8. And 68. So now that we got our toe in properly adjusted, we're gonna torque down these castle nuts to 55 foot-pounds. Right there. Now we can slide our cotter pin in and bend the tabs out. Perfect. So we're gonna make sure that the bend is facing out away from the differential here, and we are gonna torque these pinch bolts down to 90 foot-pounds. There it is. And you want to make sure you torque these down because you don't want to have this stuff moving on you. Okay, this is why torquing these is very important. Make sure you guys use a torque wrench. There it is. Last thing we need to do is just double check our measurements off of here again. As long as we're still within that 1/8 to 16th inch toed in, then we're good to go. 67 7/8, so got our 1/8 inch toe in. All right, it's been a couple days. We're finally able to get all of our Synergy parts so we could relocate the steering stabilizer. We got the new clamp, the new hardware, and obviously our stock steering stabilizer. And we're just gonna throw this on real quick. It's important to note that you have to drill these out to a 1/2 inch. I already did that beforehand, but this is gonna slide on like so. Put this on here. We'll tighten that up later. So we're gonna take our clamp with the smaller bolt size pointed in so we can line that up there. We're just gonna loosely slide this clamp on. All right, so now we're gonna roughly position this. I have the wheels turned all the way passenger with the steering stabilizer fully compressed, because obviously it can turn a bit more, but the truck's off, so we're gonna pull this out about that much. We're gonna spin this, slide this over, put our washer under here, and slide this bolt in with the washers. All right, and we're gonna tighten down this upper bolt to hold the stabilizer on. And we're gonna come back and tighten up this clamp, trying to get this thing even all the way around. All right, so now we're just gonna start the truck up, cycle the steering left and right, make sure everything's good to go. That's gonna do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Synergy's tie rod and steering kit, it's great. I recommend it. Their instructions are easy to follow. If you're not already subscribed, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button so you guys can stay up to date on when I post my latest videos. Also, if you're interested, I have some other links for stuff like Amazon, Patreon, and TeePublic down there. If you'd like to support me in that way, I would greatly appreciate it. And as always, see you guys in the next one.